Clanning, belonging to a group that represents common feelings, causes, or ideals, validating one's own belief system. From Occupy to Greenpeace to Habitat for Humanity. I'm curious, what are some of the groups you or your friends belong to? A former student is in AIDS Chicago, helping people who are victims of AIDS. Others?
Starbucks Point Collecting.
Starbucks Point Collecting Club, okay. What else?
New thing. Yeah. New thing.
New thing, okay. That's new to me. Okay, what else? You guys don't clan at all, do you? But your churches are clans for you as well, too. Yeah.
And Impact is a social business.
Impact is a social business. How many of you have used social entrepreneur sites to raise funds for kickstarting something like Kickstart? A couple of you. Every once in a while when I go on that site, I see people raising funds for graduate school and things like that. So if you haven't thought of that idea, you might look into it and see. Or people raising money to pay off their school debt. Look, even if you only get $300 or $400, that's more than you had before you went on the site, isn't it? They say to themselves. Cashing out, working women and men questioning personal career satisfaction and goals opt for simpler living. And in one sense, it's not just simpler living, it might be quitting their jobs and together buying a bed and breakfast in the country and running that and using that as their source of income. I see this, I'm at the age where I see friends of mine retiring and so on. I just turned 60, so I'm at a stage where I'm not yet ready to retire, but give me opportunity, I could cash out. I heard someone just at a conference a week and a half ago speaking about they quit their job, they went on Social Security, they joined a support raising mission and just raised half support because they already get Social Security, so they don't need to raise anything for that. And they were just having the time of their lives. That was appealing to me, more so than the full-time position with full-time responsibilities. And it gave them a lot of freedom and flexibility to do something they cared about. Now, don't get me wrong, I've loved and continue to love teaching here at Wheaton and training people who will make a difference in our world. There's not much that's more meaningful than that. But there are enough times when I'd be interested in cashing out and getting away from committee meetings, getting away from grading, getting away from all the assignments that I have you do and then I get punished because I have to read them all. Now that's not a mark against students, but it's a reality. By the time you read 25 essays on the same topic, it gets... I'm ready to cash out. Down aging, nostalgic for their carefree childhood, baby boomers find comfort in familiar pursuits and products from their youth. From the 90s, Disney's been showing commercials of older people, my age now, dancing at Disney World where the teenage kids are asking themselves, I wonder what mom and dad are doing. They're probably not doing anything right now. And cruises are designed as down-aging opportunities, but groups like Disney really play this out in terms of thinking through the my age and above. It's not just roller coasters for young kids anymore. How can older kids have a great time at places like that? Curious to know, where does this play a role in church? Perhaps church outings, which are mountain climbing treks. Short-term vacations, rather than short-term missions. You could say vacations with a purpose. I'd love to see vacations that the church organizes, which requires some down-aging on the part of older folk who can afford to go on those type of vacations, and trekking in Nepal, for example. Doing something that's challenging, not for the purpose of sharing the gospel with the Nepalese, but for the purpose, and raising support for it, but funding it themselves. It's vacation time, it's a personal thing, but they're using it for spiritual growth. And if you're interested in doing that, I just met someone who actually, as his business as mission job is a trekker in Nepal. He would be happy to take you on and work with you, but you've got to be old like me before I'll consider sending you on to him. Actually, you don't need to be, because he would love business from anybody. Egonomics. To offset a depersonalized society, consumers crave recognition of their individuality. Whew. Now, interestingly enough, some sermons that are into digital and oral, will have, they will take advantage of tweeting during a sermon to find out what the response is. You see this on The Tonight Show. If you've been watching that, where Jimmy Fallon asks people to tweet and put a particular hashtag in, and tells you whether it's trending or not at that point in time, or how. Since it's not a live show, how last night's tag trended on Twitter as a result of him putting that out for people. Churches that invite feedback, so they sometimes give little surveys to people, doodle polls or other, that people will fill out during the message, and then they will see what the response is. And sometimes they'll post the tweets during the sermon so they can see what's going on in the congregations. You can see how that individualizes the sermon, and it motivates a digital generation to be more engaged in the sermon. They feel like it's not just a passive audience anymore, it's an active audience. To old fogies like me, that sounds like it's a big compromise, but the reality is it's not. It's engaging people in a way that's different. And you'd be surprised, perhaps, if you're old like me, at what people are willing to open up to if they get the chance to tweet or to Instagram. Perhaps not Snapchat. I'm not sure how well that's being used or not yet in congregations. Evolution. The way women think and behave is impacting business, causing a marking shift away from a hierarchical model to a relational one. So how are corporations changing, and what are corporations doing to incorporate women more in the role? We're seeing this in churches slowly, and we're seeing struggles in churches trying to figure out how to handle the reality that they have an empowered female ministry force that perhaps traditionally they've not been open to. And they're finding they're losing women who are going to denominations that are more open to women being engaged in church leadership in a meaningful form. And so one of the questions we're asking this all the time is we turn it into a pure theological discussion, but it's not purely theology. It's culture as well, too. Okay, I'm not sure how many more trends I have here. I'll just keep on going until we hit a repeat of the first one. Fantasy adventure. What's your bucket list include? Hiking Kilimanjaro, going into Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania, skydiving. Bungee jumping is not on my list. But fantasy adventure also is taking you on a road that lets you live out in an imagination something you didn't anticipate you would ever be able to do. My bucket list would include a ride on something that no longer exists, the space shuttle. But having time in the International Space Station, I think that would be one of the coolest things out of this world that I could ever do. So we come back to future tense again. But I invite you to go to the website, look these over, see if you can find more information on them. On one side, this is not North American culture writ large, but this is the consumers in North America. Well, I want to be careful not pushing us in a market-driven direction. The reality is if we ignore these consumer trends, we're not going to be meeting where people are. And especially if we want to reach the non-Christian population. Because this is not designed for Christian demographics. This is larger demographics of our culture. How well are we in tune with these in our churches? Do we need to be in tune with all 17? No, but we need to be aware of them and perhaps make more conscious choices about how we're addressing these issues in ways we haven't been addressing them.